celebrating the achievement of women from the fields of politics, medicine, and business.
Even though times have changed and the economy has changed, women and entrepreneurship and the success of a small business and how those businesses are successful, that hasn't changed.
Their talent is undeniable. Their will to succeed is stronger than ever.
We're definitely seeing a difference in just where the women are, not talent-wise necessarily, but just where their mind is. What's their mindset? And it is definitely different today than it was when I got here 7 years ago.
Taking on challenges in fields lacking diversity.
In dermatology, there's only about 3% of people that identify as Black or African American. And so it's definitely one of the medical specialties with the least number of African Americans.
Celebrating the contributions of women on this edition of Let's Talk Cincy.
From WLWT, this is Let's Talk Cincy, presented by Western and Southern Financial Group. Put our financial strength behind you.
Women have played important roles in American history dating back before the official founding of our nation. Yet in some cases, those contributions have historically been downplayed. Welcome to Let's Talk Cincy. I'm Curtis Fuller. In 1987, Congress officially created Women's History Month to honor the accomplishments of women. We are shining a spotlight on Greater Cincinnati women who are making their mark in business and other fields. We begin with the story of an organization helping women entrepreneurs. Here's Lacey Roberts.
Women entrepreneurs have been working to break glass ceilings for decades. Aviator Accelerators is a Greater Cincinnati organization helping women do just that by starting and sustaining businesses. The group's inspiration came from pioneering women.
So we were going through pictures and words, and we found this great photograph of the female pilots from World War II, the WASP group, and they were walking towards the camera like linked arms and just looked really bold and really strong. And we're like, that's it.
A theme of lifting up, taking off, holding on, soaring, and launching. All key words President and CEO Nancy Eichholz knew women needed to hear.
Female entrepreneurs, no matter what their lifestyle, we are juggling a lot of plates. We always have multiple plates in the air. It doesn't matter if you're a mom or you're an empty nester or whatever, you're taking care of everybody else.
When did you think you started to see women realize that they could be entrepreneurs?
Mm-hmm. When I first came here 7 years ago, women wanted to start businesses, but I don't think that they had the confidence that we need to have in order to be successful in business. And so we were instilling the confidence in them. Now what we're seeing, and I've seen it over maybe the last 5 years, is that the women coming to us they're seasoned. We have vice presidents of companies, we have bankers, we have people from General Electric, we have Procter people, and we have a mom who's stayed home for years. We have everything, but they're coming with an evolution of that inner confidence, and it comes from, I think, the experiences that they're having in their education, the experiences that they're having in the community or in their current roles. And so we had to evolve with those women. And what we did to evolve along with them was to create curriculum that would meet a woman at every stage of her business cycle. What we were seeing very early on when Aviator was initially founded was that these women who had these very good business ideas and had all the potential in the world couldn't get capital. And it's still a challenge. The needle hasn't moved a whole lot, but what we are seeing is a much stronger focus on the fact that all entrepreneurs need capital. It takes money to make money.
Over the last 10 years, Aviator Accelerators awarded more than $10 million in capital to help entrepreneurs. Programs such as the annual Flight Night pitching competitions and Explore allow these women to sharpen their skills, simulating real-world experiences. A process Aviator Accelerators finds gives women entrepreneurs an 80% chance of launching and staying in business.
You've had this entrepreneur spirit for a long time before everyone kind of caught on.
Right, before it was trendy. Well, if you think about it, female entrepreneurs have existed like in biblical days. They were all over the place. And so It really is about women in particular. A lot of times they start businesses out of necessity. It's something that they need to do, or they have a problem that they can solve, or they have a special gift or talent that they can turn into a business because it solves a problem or it helps other people. And that's a lot of what drives a female entrepreneur. We know as a society that in communities where the women and girls are supported and lifted up, the entire community is raised up. It's safer, the education is better, the economy is better, it's socially better. It's a good thing to lift up our women and minorities.
According to the National Association of Women Business Owners, more than 11.6 million businesses are owned by women, generating nearly $1.5 trillion and employing more than 8 million people. I'm Lacey Roberts reporting for Let's Talk Cincy.
Well, the organization received the 2022 Todd Portune Innovation Champion Award for its service in promoting new ideas, methods, and products over the years to women entrepreneurs. Aviatra Accelerators is located in Covington at 114 West Pike Street. Of course, if you'd like more information, you can call 859-655-8343. Up next.
A Greater Cincinnati businesswoman helping local girls navigate a sensitive health need. How she is supporting them when Let's Talk Cincy returns.
Well, it is a topic some of us might feel a little uncomfortable or embarrassed to discuss with young girls. But it's also a fact of life that they will begin their menstrual cycle by the time they are young teens. The founder of a local organization saw the need to bridge the gap to help girls navigate what could be a confusing time in their lives. Lacey Roberts has more on the mission of a group called Girls Health Period.
According to health experts, girls get their first period between the ages of 10 and 15. Looking for answers and asking questions can be embarrassing, but not anymore with the help of Girls Health Period.
The earliest menstruator that we had on record is 8 years old. So that's about, second grade going into third grade. And so most of the time our education is not there. We just, throw a menstrual product at the child and say, here, handle it, because that's, as women, that's what we normally deal with. But it takes a time to actually develop a curriculum to not only share with our students and their families, but also the education system.
That realization is what led Brittany Gray to create Girls Health Period. Her previous experience as an intervention specialist and through firsthand accounts, she knew the education surrounding menstruation was not being taught in the classroom.
The nurse's office and the school's offices, either they have to come from their own budgets to have menstrual products, and once that funding is gone, it's pretty much coming out the pockets of teachers and nurses, resource coordinators, and so how can we supplement that? Using
the hashtag Support the Cycle, Gray's efforts began at one school, but is now in more than 48 from elementary to college. Gray teams up with nurse practitioner Angel Taylor to hit those schools most in need.
We're told by the students that there is no sex ed any longer, so they're not really learning about health. There are senior high health classes, but traditional classes like you and I had back in the day where the girls went over here and the boys went over here and they could ask all the embarrassing questions, they don't do that anymore. We were having issues where the girls would come to school, and if they came on during school and didn't have products, or we couldn't locate products within the building, we would literally have to take them across the hall to the shower. The absence rate was higher when we didn't have products because a lot of the girls were using rolled up tissue, they were using cloth, they just weren't coming to school at all.
We wanted to curate trusted teachers on each level of the school to have a pack of pads that is always open for any student that needed it at any given time, no questions asked. And so when we donated to the school, the nurses made sure that pretty much each teacher had enough pads at any given time.
So these are the boxes that Girls Health Period brings to us. We have different rooms throughout the school that have these boxes. The boxes are always stacked with different products in them, different sizes for whatever the girls need.
Keeping information as young as a 4th grade reading level, these cards provided by Girls Health Period give tips on how to prepare for your cycle or how to ask for help. Gray says Girls Health Period also helps girls continue in other school activities.
Most girls that start their menstrual cycle at 14, they start to stop doing sports. And so we want to make sure that their coaches are educated with them about menstruation. They have the products as a team, and then they also have sports bras, so that's one less thing you have to worry about. The rate of success was through the roof because it kept kids in the classroom when it was necessary for passing time. They passed, used the restroom, came back. There was actually no need for coming to the nurse's office.
The initial focus of Girls Health Period was to provide feminine hygiene products for students, but you can now find them in common spaces such as black coffee and cream and sugar. I'm Lacey Roberts reporting for Let's Talk Cincy.
In this footnote, Girls Health Period teams up with other local organizations to help gather donations. One partnership with Pause Cincy and Corporate Gotham collected thousands of products in less than 30 minutes. Now, if you want more information on Girls Health Period, check out the organization's website. The address is girlshealthperiod.org, or you can follow the organization on Facebook and Instagram. Just ahead.
The 3 things financial experts say women entrepreneurs need before starting a business. We'll unlock the toolbox to a successful company when Let's Talk Cincy returns.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Cincy. Business experts say companies fail for a number of reasons, including no business plan and starting with too much debt. They also say the deck is stacked even greater against women entrepreneurs. But we continue our program with some advice that can even those odds.
The beginning stages of entrepreneurship can be tricky. Having a good relationship with business counselors and financial advisors are key to getting started.
What I learned is that, women are limitless and they are going for their dreams.
I saw a whirlwind of women business entrepreneurs that just, had a spark of confidence that said, hey, I want to take the next leap of faith and, try it out.
Those statements are what business counselor Jill McCauley and small business loan specialist Angelica Johnson say have boosted their numbers and consultations. But they can tell you being an entrepreneur is more than just having passion.
I think some folks think they can apply for a grant or apply for a loan and it's automatic. But really, there is a process. You have to show that you're business worthy, your credit score. So you have to have a business plan to connect to funding. Do your research. Do the market analysis. Are there competitors in your area that do exactly what you do and what makes you stand out? What gives you that competitive advantage?
Well, that business plan is going to prepare you to know how much money or funds you're going to need to start your business. And then that's when you say, either I'm going to save my personal funds or maybe I'm going to reach out to the bank.
There was funding for pandemic relief, but at the same time, maybe not as much funding for startup businesses. So we were able to get in the weeds with them to look for those startup business funds, look for those business classes, connect them with webinars and organizations to help them, really grow their business and start off on a good footing.
So kind of talk about how you've kind of had to walk people through that financial literacy when they don't have that background, and then what else they can do to secure funding besides just going straight to a loan.
Absolutely. So it's a great question. So I like to play the advisory role here at the bank. So I would provide them with different types of education. We at First Financial Bank, we do provide financial educational seminars to our business entrepreneurs. And then you mentioned, are there other types of funding besides loans? Absolutely. You can go through your county, the city of Cincinnati, they provide grants. Believe it or not, there's so many grants out there for women business owners or just small business owners in general. That's what the SBA is for. The bank, offers an SBA loan to cover that risk of not having collateral. They mitigate a lot of risk involved in that, because if you don't have collateral and something were to go wrong with your loan, the SBA will provide money back to the bank if for some reason that loan didn't make it. 3 things that they need to know. I call it the 3 best friends of your business. And one of them is your banker. The second one is an attorney. And the third is your accountant or your CPA, the person that does your taxes. Those 3 individuals are going to help you guide the way for your business, whether it's the legal advice that you need, whether it's the tax implications that you could face as a business owner. And your banker is going to provide you with the tools and information that you need to borrow your funds. So you're going to need those 3 best friends along the way when you're starting a business.
Both parties agree registering for a national certification as a women-owned and controlled business can also open the doors to more exclusive funding.
Well, making that leap to become an entrepreneur might seem like a lot of work, and you know what? It is. But consultants say a key to success is to make sure you choose a business venture that suits your personality and lifestyle. Now, to the story of 2 women in local law enforcement. They are the first women ever to achieve their positions. Ashley Kirkland spoke with the first woman sheriff in Hamilton County and Cincinnati's first female police chief.
In the midst of Women's History Month, local women in law enforcement are answering the call of duty, some making history as we speak.
Thank you to Mayor Purival and Interim City Manager, Mr. Kerp, for having the confidence in me to allow me to step into this role of Interim Police Chief.
Just last month, Lieutenant Colonel Teresa Thigi took the mantle as the first female interim police chief for CPD, but it's not the first time she's been the first.
Some of my comments when I got sworn in as the executive assistant chief, and I was the first female for that, was recognizing that city leaders recognize there's no glass ceiling at City Hall.
Another veteran in the field, Hamilton County Sheriff Charmaine McGuffey, says these historic appointments prove women can and will continue to shatter any fragment of the glass ceiling that's left.
In my 30 years in law enforcement, women have continued to rise in the ranks. They have continued to gain influence, and they can win elections.
Sheriff McGuffey believes women in law enforcement can play a positive role in influencing the country and world to be a better place. But in her 30 years, it's been an uphill battle.
You are challenged to be just a little better, to prove yourself, not just once, not twice, but really every time you put the uniform on. And there are so many women that meet that challenge and do that every day.
Right now, women make up just above 22% of the Cincinnati Police Department.
I look forward to being the first female and showing that I can do it just as well as a male counterpart can do it.
Both women say they aren't focused on the past, only the future.
I also look forward to the day when race or gender is not part of the conversation, but rather who's the quality candidate for the job.
What I want to say to girls and women out there, when you want something, when it's something that you feel strongly about, that you want to do, don't ever give it up. Don't ever quit. Continue, work hard for it, and always believe. That's the key. Always believe in yourself.
By the way, the national search for a permanent police chief continues within CPD. Interim Chief Thigi gave no indication if she would go for that role. CPD made a pledge to increase the number of female officers on the force to 30% by the year 2030. Still to come.
We'll hear from a doctor who is charting her own course in a field with few black physicians. Let's Talk Cincy. We'll be right back.
Another history-making moment is unfolding right now in Washington, D.C. President Joe Biden recently delivered on a campaign promise to nominate a black woman to the United States Supreme Court. Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, currently serving the U.S. Court of Appeals for Washington, D.C. The judge is a Harvard Law School graduate, and at age 51, she would be the second youngest on the court if confirmed. Her selection is viewed by some as a positive step to diversifying the court.
This is a bright day.
My life and career will inspire future generations of Americans.
Judge Jackson is not going to be just a vote. That's important. And it will be important for her vote to be there, but she'll be a voice.
I mean, the court has to reflect the diversity of our country, because the decisions that the U.S. Supreme Court makes really affect all of us.
Now, Judge Brown Jackson recently met with congressional leaders on Capitol Hill. Her confirmation hearings are scheduled to begin on March 21st. She would replace retiring Justice Stephen Breyer if confirmed. Now, our final story focuses on a female doctor who is, figuratively speaking, a unicorn in her field. Lacey Roberts has our story.
About 3% of people identify as Black or African American in the field of dermatology, making it one of the medical specialties with the least number of African Americans becoming physicians. Meet Dr. Jewel Goulding, the only African American dermatologist in the tri-state area.
You know, it was always important for me to come back to Cincinnati because I was born and raised here. You know, I was so thankful for all of the mentorship and guidance that I received during my, upbringing in Cincinnati, especially during high school. I went to Walnut Hills High School. And so I just knew that that was such a great experience for me. I would love to come back to the city and serve the community that helped raise me and develop me into the person, that I am today. During my undergraduate years and in medical school, I really didn't see a lot of people like me that were trying to pursue the field of dermatology or medicine in general. And so knowing that feeling, during college, during med school, it totally shifted when I went to residency. I was so thankful to train somewhere with people that looked like me, and it was life-changing. My goal is to develop a really great relationship, a great patient-doctor relationship, so that not only, if you come in skeptical, that after we talk about your condition and talk about the different treatment options, that you feel comfortable. I have a high proportion of skin of color patients that are coming in for hair loss. I think that, as African-American women, we, are so, our hair is so important. And so therefore, even just having people show me the hair loss that they've had over, a time span, I know that's a difficult thing, and I don't take that lightly.
Dr. Goulding's efforts continue to adding to diversity in healthcare. The Kim Goulding and Jerry Goulding Scholarship, named after her parents, helps promote the education of students of color into the sciences.
And the doctor says most often people wait to come in because of embarrassment, but the best thing you can do for accurate treatment is to see someone as soon as possible. Well, it's a great show, huh? Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next week for another edition of Let's Talk Cincy.